The reason you're not rich yet has absolutely nothing to do with your education, your background, your current bank account, or even how hard you work, and everything to do with invisible walls built inside your mind that are silently blocking money from flowing into your life right now in this very moment. And I'm about to show you exactly how to demolish those walls permanently, forever, starting today. Most people spend their entire lives wondering why money seems to come so easily to others, while they struggle endlessly working twice as hard for half the results, never realizing that the real battle isn't happening out there in the economy or the job market, but inside their own subconscious mind, where deeply rooted beliefs about money formed decades ago are still running the show, controlling every financial decision they make, without them even knowing it. And what I'm about to share with you in the next several minutes isn't theory or philosophy, but a complete systematic approach that thousands of people have used to completely reprogram their relationship with money, going from constant struggle and anxiety to effortless flow and abundance. And the best part is that this works regardless of where you're starting from right now. If you want to join a community of people who are actively removing their money blocks and stepping into financial abundance, then subscribe to this channel right now, because every single video we release is specifically designed to help you break through the invisible barriers that have been keeping you stuck financially for years. And believe me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let me start by telling you something that might sound completely counterintuitive, but is absolutely true. The reason most people can't attract money isn't because they don't want it enough, or because they're not working hard enough, but because deep in their subconscious mind, they actually believe that having money is somehow wrong, dangerous, or will make them a bad person. And I know that sounds crazy, because consciously you're sitting there thinking, of course I want money. Who wouldn't want money? But your conscious desires mean absolutely nothing when your subconscious programming is running a completely different script that was written when you were 5 years old by parents, teachers, society, telling you that money is the root of all evil, that rich people are greedy, that wanting money is selfish, that you should be grateful for what you have, and not ask for more. These aren't just casual thoughts floating around in your head. These are deep neural pathways carved into your brain through years of repetition and emotional reinforcement, creating what we call money blocks, which are essentially invisible force fields that repel financial abundance the same way a magnet repels another magnet when you flip it around. And here's what makes this so insidious, so difficult to recognize. You can't see these blocks, you can't touch them, you can't measure them in any conventional way, but they are absolutely real, and they are absolutely running your financial life every single day, making you unconsciously sabotage opportunities, push away potential income streams, and keep yourself trapped in the exact same financial patterns you've been experiencing for years. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to effortlessly attract money? Opportunities fall into their lap, deals come together perfectly. Clients show up out of nowhere while you're grinding, working yourself to exhaustion, following all the right strategies, doing everything the experts tell you to do, and yet somehow the results just don't materialize the way they should. Most people explain this away with excuses. They got lucky, they had connections, they started with money, they had some advantage I didn't have. But that's not what's really happening. What's really happening is that their subconscious mind doesn't have the same blocks. Yours does. Their internal programming allows money to flow to them naturally, easily, because at a deep unconscious level, they genuinely believe they deserve it. They expect it. They see it as normal and natural. And the frustrating thing is that you can't just think your way out of money blocks. You can't just decide consciously that you're going to believe differently, because the conscious mind only controls about 5% of your behavior, while the subconscious mind, that vast, powerful computer running below your awareness, controls the other 95%. So you can sit there affirming I am worthy of wealth, I deserve abundance, I am a money magnet, until you're blue in the face. But if your subconscious programming is whispering, money is dangerous, people who have money are selfish, you'll lose your friends, if you get rich, your family will judge you, then guess which voice is going to win that battle every single time? Money blocks form primarily during childhood. During those critical years, from birth to about age 7, when your brain is basically a sponge, soaking up every message, every emotion, every belief from the environment around you, without any filter, without any critical thinking, without any ability to question whether what you're absorbing is actually true or helpful. During this period, your young developing mind is learning how the world works, what's safe, what's dangerous, what's acceptable, what's shameful. And a huge part of that programming relates to money, because money is such a charged emotional topic in most families. Maybe you grew up in a household where there was never enough money, where your parents constantly fought about finances, where you heard phrases like, "We can't afford that money, doesn't grow on trees. Do you think I'm made of money? We have to save for a rainy day." And as a child, hearing these messages over and over, your young mind didn't process them as temporary situational statements, but as absolute universal truths about how reality works. You internalized the belief that money is scarce, that there's never enough, that wanting things is inappropriate, that financial security is always fragile, always one disaster away from collapsing. Or perhaps you grew up in a family that had money, but you witnessed how it changed people, how it created conflict, how relatives fought over inheritance, how your parents worked constantly, never had time for you, sacrificed their health, their relationships, their happiness in the pursuit of financial success. And your young mind, watching all this, drew a very logical conclusion that money equals suffering, that financial success requires sacrificing everything else that matters, that rich people are miserable, stressed, disconnected from what really counts in life. So your subconscious mind, in its infinite wisdom trying to protect you, created a money block that says, if I become wealthy, I'll be miserable. I'll lose my relationships. I'll become someone I don't want to be. Therefore, I must keep money away, to stay safe, to stay happy, to stay true to myself. Or maybe you were taught directly by well-meaning parents, religious leaders, teachers that money is somehow spiritually impure, that truly good people don't focus on material wealth, that seeking financial abundance means you're shallow, materialistic, disconnected from higher values. You heard that the love of money is the root of all evil, that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven, that money can't buy happiness, that the best things in life are free. And these messages, although often delivered with good intentions, created a massive internal conflict where part of you desperately wants financial security, comfort, freedom, while another part of you feels guilty, ashamed, spiritually compromised for even having those desires. And here's where it gets really tricky, because these money blocks don't just sit there passively, they actively sabotage your financial success in ways that seem completely disconnected from your beliefs about money. You might procrastinate on launching that business you've been planning for years, telling yourself you need to do more research, get more prepared, wait for the perfect time, when really what's happening is your subconscious mind is protecting you from the danger it associates with making more money. You might undercharge for your services, consistently leaving thousands or tens of thousands of dollars on the table, because asking for what you're truly worth triggers deep shame or fear that was programmed into you decades ago. You might make a bunch of money and then immediately lose it through unexpected expenses, medical emergencies, car repairs, bad investments, as if there's some invisible thermostat in your mind that says this is your maximum allowable income, and whenever you exceed it, something must happen to bring you back down to your comfort zone. You might avoid networking opportunities, shy away from promoting yourself, fail to follow up with potential clients, Convince yourself that you're just not good at sales, when really what's happening is that your subconscious mind is keeping you small, keeping you hidden, keeping you safe from the imagined dangers it associates with financial visibility and success. These patterns aren't random. They're not coincidences. They're not just bad luck. They're the direct result of subconscious programming running in the background of your mind, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, creating your financial reality through the decisions you make, the opportunities you notice or ignore, the actions you take, or avoid the way you present yourself to the world. And until you address these blocks at their root, at the subconscious level, where they actually exist, no amount of strategy, tactics, techniques, or hard work will create lasting financial transformation, because you'll constantly be fighting against yourself, trying to move forward, while your own internal programming is pulling you backward. Now, let me be absolutely clear about something. Removing money blocks isn't about becoming greedy or materialistic or obsessed with accumulating wealth for its own sake. That would just be replacing one unhealthy extreme with another equally unhealthy extreme. What we're talking about is creating a balanced, healthy, empowering relationship with money, where you see it accurately as a tool, a resource, a form of energy that allows you to live more fully, create more impact, support yourself and others, contribute to causes you care about, experience the world in richer, deeper ways. Money itself is completely neutral. It's not good or evil, spiritual or unspiritual. It's simply a medium of exchange, a representation of value. And the more value you provide to the world, the more money naturally flows to you when your internal programming allows it. The first major money block that almost everyone carries to some degree is what I call the scarcity program. And this is the deeply embedded belief that there isn't enough, that resources are limited, that if someone else wins, you lose, that life is a competition for scarce resources where you have to fight, struggle, scratch your way to whatever meager portion you can claim. This belief creates a constant underlying anxiety about money, a sense that no matter how much you have, it's never quite enough, that you need to hold tight control. Penny pinch, save for disaster, hoard resources, protect what you have from the threatening world around you. The scarcity program shows up in countless ways in your daily life. The reluctance to invest in yourself or your business, because what if it doesn't work out? What if I lose that money? What if I need it for something else later? The inability to celebrate other people's success without feeling diminished by it, because their gain somehow represents your loss. Their abundance somehow makes your situation worse. The tendency to focus obsessively on what you don't have, rather than appreciating what you do, have constantly comparing yourself to others and feeling like you're falling behind, losing ground, not measuring up to where you should be. And here's what's so devastating about the scarcity program: it literally blocks you from seeing opportunities that are right in front of you. Because when your mind is programmed to see lack, to expect limitation, to anticipate scarcity, that's exactly what it filters for in your environment. Your brain is constantly processing millions of bits of information every second, and it has to decide what to pay attention to, what to ignore, what to consider important, what to dismiss as irrelevant. And that filtering process is determined by your beliefs, your expectations, your programming. So if your subconscious believes that money is scarce, that opportunities are rare, that success is difficult, then your conscious awareness will only notice evidence that confirms those beliefs, while completely missing evidence to the contrary. This is why two people can be in the exact same situation, attending the same event, meeting the same people, exposed to the same information, and one person walks away with 3 new clients, a joint venture partnership, and a brilliant idea for their next product, while the other person walks away thinking, well, that was a waste of time. Nothing good happened. The difference isn't in the external circumstances, the difference is in the internal programming, the filter through which they're perceiving reality, interpreting events, deciding what's possible, what's available, what's worth pursuing. The antidote to the scarcity program is what we might call abundance consciousness, which is the recognition that we live in an incredibly abundant universe where there is more than enough for everyone, where wealth isn't a zero-sum game, where someone else's success doesn't diminish your potential, where opportunities are constantly flowing, where value can be created infinitely, where collaboration is more powerful than competition. And I'm not talking about some woo-woo, magical thinking, positive vibes, manifestation, fantasy. I'm talking about recognizing the actual literal truth of the reality we live in. Think about it seriously. For a moment, the universe created billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars. Each of those stars potentially supporting multiple planets. The Earth produces enough food to feed every human being. Many times over, nature creates billions of seeds, trees, flowers, animals in constant regeneration and renewal. Human creativity, innovation, and problem-solving capacity is essentially unlimited. We keep creating new technologies, new solutions, new ways of generating value that didn't exist before. Scarcity in human society isn't a reflection of universal reality. It's a reflection of distribution, systems, power structures, artificial limitations created by human systems, not by nature itself. When you begin to genuinely internalize this truth, when you start seeing evidence of abundance everywhere you look, your entire relationship with money transforms because you're no longer operating from fear, from anxiety, from the desperate need to grab and hold and control. Instead, you're operating from trust, from openness, from the recognition that as you provide value to others, money flows naturally, easily in return. You become willing to invest in yourself because you trust that the return will come. You celebrate others' success, genuinely, because you recognize that their abundance doesn't limit yours. You focus on creating value, solving problems, knowing that the financial rewards are a natural byproduct of that contribution. The second major money block is what I call the worthiness wound. And this is perhaps the most painful, the most damaging of all the money blocks because it strikes at the core of your identity, your sense of self, your fundamental belief about whether you as a person deserve good things, deserve comfort, deserve ease, deserve abundance. So many people walk around carrying this deep, unconscious belief that they're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough, not educated enough, not connected enough, not special enough to deserve significant financial success. And this belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that keeps them trapped in limitation regardless of how hard they work or how many opportunities come their way. The worthiness wound usually originates from childhood experiences where you received messages either explicitly or implicitly that you weren't acceptable as you were, that love, approval, acceptance were conditional on meeting certain standards, on performing in certain ways, on being someone different than who you naturally were. Maybe you had parents who constantly compared you to siblings, or other children emphasized your shortcomings and failures while minimizing your strengths and successes. Maybe you experienced rejection, bullying, exclusion during formative years that taught you that you were somehow defective, unlovable, unwanted by the social groups you desperately wanted to belong to. Maybe you internalized religious or cultural messages that humans are inherently sinful, flawed, broken, in need of redemption, that you should feel guilty for your desires, your needs, your wants, that self-sacrifice, suffering, and denial are virtuous, while self-care, pleasure, and abundance are selfish. Or maybe you simply absorbed the general cultural message that permeates so much of society, that your value as a human being is determined by your productivity, your achievements, your status, your possessions, that you have to earn the right to exist, to matter, to be worthy of good things, through constant striving, constant proving, constant demonstration of your usefulness. Whatever the specific origin, the result is the same, a deep unconscious belief that you don't inherently deserve wealth, comfort, ease, abundance, that if money came to you easily, you wouldn't have earned it, wouldn't deserve to keep it, would be somehow cheating or taking something that rightfully belongs to someone more qualified, more deserving, more worthy. And this belief is absolutely devastating to your financial success, because even when opportunities come your way, even when money starts flowing, your subconscious mind finds ways to reject it, to push it away, to sabotage it, to ensure that you remain in the financial situation that matches your internal sense of what you deserve. This is why some people can win the lottery, receive an inheritance, come into sudden wealth, and then lose it all within a few years. They haven't resolved their worthiness wound, so their subconscious mind cannot allow them to maintain a level of wealth that exceeds their internal sense of deserving. It's why talented people undercharge for their services, don't negotiate for higher salaries, accept less than their worth, give away their time and expertise for free, because deep down, they don't believe they deserve to be compensated at the level their value actually commands. The truth that you need to internalize at the deepest level is that your worth as a human being has absolutely nothing to do with your productivity, your achievements, your bank account, your status, your possessions, or anything external whatsoever. You are inherently worthy simply by virtue of being alive, being conscious, being a unique expression of the creative force of the universe itself. You don't have to earn worthiness. You don't have to prove worthiness. You don't have to achieve worthiness, because worthiness isn't something you achieve. It's something you are. It's your fundamental nature, your birthright, your essence. And when you truly get this, when you internalize this at a level deeper than intellectual understanding, everything changes, because you stop seeking external validation through money, through success, through achievement, and you start allowing yourself to receive abundance simply because you exist, simply because you're here, simply because the universe is abundant by nature, and you're part of that universe. You stop feeling guilty about having wants and desires. You stop apologizing for charging what you're worth. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You stop playing small to avoid triggering other people's worthiness wounds. The third major money block is what I call the safety program. And this is the unconscious belief that having money is actually dangerous, that wealth creates problems, puts targets on your back, makes you vulnerable to loss, to betrayal, to attack, to responsibility you're not ready to handle. This might sound completely backwards because most people consciously think that money equals safety, equals security, equals protection from life's hardships. But at the subconscious level, many people have absorbed the opposite message, that money brings danger. Maybe you witnessed how money created conflict in your family, how relatives fought over inheritance, how your parents' relationship deteriorated as they acquired more wealth, how financial success led to stress, health problems, divorce. Maybe you heard stories about lottery winners whose lives fell apart, about celebrities who struggled with addiction, depression, suicide, despite their wealth, about wealthy people who were kidnapped, robbed, targeted by lawsuits or scams. Maybe you absorbed media messages that constantly portray wealthy people as corrupt, unhappy, isolated, disconnected from authentic relationships, living empty, materialistic lives behind facades of success. These experiences and messages create an association in your subconscious mind that money equals danger, equals vulnerability, equals complications, that you're safer staying where you are maintaining your current financial level, keeping a low profile, not attracting attention, not making yourself visible, not putting yourself in situations where you might gain significant wealth, because with that, wealth comes exposure, comes responsibility, comes the possibility of loss, comes changes you're not sure you can handle. And your subconscious mind, whose primary job is to keep you safe, will do everything in its power to prevent you from entering situations it perceives as dangerous, even when consciously you desperately want the very thing your subconscious is protecting you from. This safety program shows up as an invisible ceiling on your income where you seem to make about the same amount year after year, regardless of your efforts, because your subconscious has decided this is your safe zone, and anything beyond it triggers anxiety, discomfort, fear. It shows up as self-sabotage, right? When you're on the verge of a breakthrough, suddenly you get sick. You make a costly mistake. You have a conflict with a key partner. You experience some setback that prevents the breakthrough from happening because your subconscious is pulling you back to safety. It shows up as resistance to visibility, to promotion, to putting yourself out there, to being seen in bigger ways, because visibility equals vulnerability, equals exposure, equals danger in your subconscious programming. The way to dismantle the safety program is to consciously examine the beliefs you're carrying about money and danger, and to recognize that money itself is neutral. It's a tool that can be used wisely or foolishly, responsibly or irresponsibly, to create good or to create harm, depending entirely on the consciousness of the person wielding it. Having money doesn't automatically create problems any more than not having money automatically creates safety. In fact, lack of money creates its own very real dangers: stress, health issues, limited options, vulnerability to exploitation, dependence on systems that don't have your best interests at heart. What you need to develop is a sense of financial confidence, the belief that you can handle money responsibly, that you can manage wealth wisely, that you can maintain your values, your relationships, your integrity, regardless of your financial situation, that you're capable of navigating whatever challenges come with increased prosperity. And this confidence grows through small steps, through gradually expanding your capacity to hold larger amounts of money, to make bigger financial decisions, to manage increased complexity, to maintain your center, your values, your sense of self, even as your external circumstances change dramatically. The fourth major money block is what I call the identity attachment, and this is perhaps the most subtle, the most difficult to recognize, because it involves how you've built your sense of self around your current financial situation, and the unconscious fear that if your financial situation changes dramatically, you won't know who you are anymore. Human beings create identity stories about themselves. I'm a struggling artist. I'm someone who has to work twice as hard for half the results. I'm not good with money. I come from a poor background. I'm blue-collar, working class. I keep it real. I'm not one of those people who sells out. And these stories become so central to how we see ourselves, how we relate to others, how we navigate the world, that changing them feels like losing ourselves. If you've built an identity around being the scrappy underdog, the person who overcomes obstacles through grit and determination, the one who succeeds despite limited resources, then what happens to that identity? If suddenly money flows easily, if abundance becomes your natural state, if you no longer have to struggle, if you've bonded with friends, family community over shared financial struggles, over complaints about the system, over mutual support through hard times, then what happens to those relationships? If you suddenly have wealth they don't have, if you're no longer in the same boat, if you've moved to a different economic reality. These fears, although rarely conscious, create powerful resistance to financial transformation, because your subconscious mind is protecting not just your safety, but your sense of self, your social connections, your place in the world, your understanding of who you are. And this is why some people unconsciously keep themselves stuck financially, not because they don't want money, not because they're not trying hard enough, but because at a deep level, changing their financial situation feels like betraying their roots, abandoning their people, becoming someone they're not, becoming someone they've been taught to judge or resent or see as other. The resolution to identity attachment is recognizing that your true self, your essence, who you really are, exists independently of your financial situation, that you can have wealth and still maintain your values, your authenticity, your connections to what matters most to you. You're not your bank account. You're not your job title. You're not your economic class. You're the consciousness experiencing all of those things, and that consciousness remains fundamentally unchanged, whether you have $10 or $10 million in the bank. What changes is your external circumstances, your options, your ability to create impact, to live in alignment with your values, to support causes and people you care about. But the core of who you are remains constant. This means consciously choosing to keep your values, your integrity, your authentic self, regardless of your financial situation, making a commitment to yourself that no amount of money will cause you to compromise what truly matters to you, to treat people differently, to become someone you're not, to lose connection with your roots, with your community, with your sense of purpose. When you make this commitment, when you internalize this truth, the fear of losing yourself through financial success dissolves, because you recognize that wealth is simply an amplifier. It amplifies who you already are. If you're generous when you have little, you'll be generous when you have much. If you're kind when struggling, you'll be kind when prospering. If you value authentic relationships over superficial status, those values will remain regardless of your net worth. Now let me share with you the actual process for removing these money blocks permanently, because understanding them intellectually is important, but it's not enough for real transformation. You need to engage in practices that reprogram your subconscious mind at the deep level where these blocks actually exist, and that requires consistent, deliberate practice over time. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you're not aware of, so you need to bring your money blocks out of the darkness of unconscious automation into the light of conscious examination, where you can see them clearly, understand them fully, make deliberate choices about whether to keep them or release them. Start by examining your current financial situation with brutal honesty, without judgment, without shame, without excuse, making just clear-eyed acknowledgement of where you are, what patterns you notice, what results you've been creating, what that reveals about your underlying beliefs and programming. Look at your income over the past several years. Is it relatively stable, hovering around the same level? Or has it grown significantly? What happens when you make more than usual? Do you find ways to spend it, lose it, give it away? Or are you able to retain it, build it, compound it over time? Look at your relationship with spending. Are you comfortable investing in yourself, in experiences, in things that bring you joy? Or do you feel guilty, anxious every time you spend money, even on necessities, even when you can afford it? Look at your patterns around earning. Do you undercharge for your services? Do you avoid raising your prices, even when you're fully booked? Even when clients would happily pay more? Do you have trouble receiving compliments, accepting help, asking for what you need, asserting your value in negotiations? Look at how you talk about money, what language you use, what emotions come up when discussing finances. Whether you avoid the topic altogether, whether you complain constantly about not having enough, whether you judge people who have wealth, whether you celebrate financial success or secretly resent it. All of these observations give you clues about your subconscious programming, about the money blocks operating beneath your conscious awareness, and once you see them clearly, you can begin working with them instead of being unconsciously controlled by them. The second step is questioning. Once you've identified a money block, a limiting belief about money, you don't just accept it as true. You question it rigorously, examining whether it's actually based on reality or simply on programming you absorbed years ago that may have made sense in that context, but no longer serves you now. Take, for example, the belief that money is scarce. Is that actually true when you look at the world objectively? Or is it a belief that creates the experience of scarcity through the way it filters your perception and directs your behavior? Consider that humans have created extraordinary wealth over the past century, that billions of people live in comfort, that would have seemed impossible to previous generations, that new wealth is created constantly through innovation, creativity, problem-solving, value creation. Consider that in your own life, money has always shown up somehow when you truly needed it, that you've never actually starved or been completely without resources even in your most difficult times. Or take the belief that you don't deserve wealth. Where did that belief come from? Did you carefully examine evidence and logically conclude it was true? Or did you simply absorb it from parents, teachers, society experiences that had nothing to do with your actual inherent worth? Can you find any logical reason why you specifically should be excluded from abundance when millions of people no more talented, intelligent, or hardworking than you experience financial prosperity? Is it possible that your worth has nothing to do with deserving, that the universe doesn't operate on a deserving basis, but simply responds to energy, to consciousness, to the vibration you're putting out? This questioning process begins to loosen the grip of your money blocks, because beliefs that are never examined maintain their power through unconscious acceptance, but beliefs that are consciously questioned, rigorously tested against reality, often begin to crumble, revealing themselves as simply stories, not truths, as programming, not reality, as choices, not inevitabilities. The third step is reframing, which means consciously choosing new empowering beliefs to replace the old limiting ones, deliberately installing new programming that serves your highest good, your financial prosperity, your full expression of potential. This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending to believe something you don't. It's about recognizing that beliefs are choices, not facts, and that you have the power to choose beliefs that serve you, rather than unconsciously maintaining beliefs that limit you. So if you've been operating from the belief that money is hard to make, you might consciously choose to adopt the belief that money flows naturally, easily, when I provide value, when I solve problems, when I serve others' needs. If you've been operating from the belief that I'm not good with money, you might consciously choose the belief that I'm learning to manage money wisely, that my financial intelligence grows daily, that I'm capable of making sound financial decisions. If you've been operating from the belief that wealth corrupts or that rich people are greedy, you might consciously choose the belief that money is simply a tool that amplifies who you already are, that I can have wealth and maintain my integrity, that financial abundance allows me to create more positive impact in the world. And here's what's crucial. These new beliefs need to be repeated consistently, ideally connected to emotion, to visualization, to sensory experience, because that's how the subconscious mind learns, through repetition, through emotional intensity, through vivid multisensory experience, not through logical argument. This is where practices like affirmations, when done correctly, become powerful, not as magical incantations that change reality, but as tools for consciously programming your subconscious mind with new beliefs, new expectations, new filters through which to perceive and interact with reality. But affirmations must be done with feeling, with conviction, with full engagement. Not just mindlessly recited. You need to embody the feeling state of the belief you're installing. Feel what it would feel like to truly believe that money flows easily, to believe that you deserve abundance, to believe that you're financially capable and confident. The fourth step is action, because beliefs aren't just mental constructs. They're expressed through behavior, and one of the most powerful ways to change beliefs is to act as if they were already true, to behave in ways that are consistent with the new beliefs you're choosing to adopt, even before you fully believe them, even while doubt and fear are still present. This is what's called acting from faith, rather than waiting for certainty. Taking action in the direction of your desires, even when you don't know how it will work out, even when you don't have all the pieces, even when part of you is terrified. If you're working on dissolving scarcity consciousness, you might practice generosity, giving to causes you care about, tipping generously, helping others financially, even when your rational mind says you can't afford it, because that action sends a powerful message to your subconscious that you trust abundance, that you believe more is coming, that you're not operating from lack. If you're working on worthiness wounds, you might practice charging what you're truly worth asking for. Raises, negotiating better terms, setting boundaries around your time and energy, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when old programming screams that you're being selfish or unreasonable. If you're working on the safety program, you might practice visibility, putting yourself out there, promoting your work, sharing your ideas, speaking on stages, writing articles, posting on social media, making yourself seen, even when every fiber of your being wants to hide, wants to play small, wants to stay safe in obscurity. Each of these actions, especially when they feel uncomfortable, when they trigger fear, when they push you outside your comfort zone, is actually reprogramming your subconscious mind, proving to it through direct experience that the things it fears aren't actually dangerous, that you can handle discomfort, that growth happens outside the familiar. The fifth step is environmental design, which means consciously creating an environment that supports your new money beliefs, rather than constantly reinforcing the old limiting ones, because we're heavily influenced by our surroundings, by the people we spend time with, by the content we consume, by the conversations we engage in, by the physical spaces we inhabit. If you're constantly surrounded by people who complain about money, who express scarcity, who judge wealth, who reinforce limiting beliefs about what's possible, that environment will make it incredibly difficult to maintain new empowering beliefs, because you're swimming against the current, constantly exposed to contradictory programming. This doesn't mean you need to abandon all your friends or completely isolate yourself, but it does mean being intentional about who you spend your time with, seeking out people who have healthy relationships with money, who think abundantly, who support your growth, who celebrate your success, rather than feeling threatened by it. It means being selective about what you feed your mind, choosing books, podcasts, courses, content that reinforces abundance consciousness, that teaches financial wisdom, that expands your sense of what's possible rather than consuming news media that focuses on crisis scarcity, fear that keeps you trapped in limiting narratives. It means creating physical reminders of abundance in your environment, perhaps keeping a specific amount of cash in your wallet, not to spend, but to remind yourself that you always have money. Perhaps setting up automatic transfers to savings and investment accounts to prove to your subconscious that you're building wealth, perhaps displaying symbols of prosperity in your space that trigger feelings of abundance rather than lack. All of these environmental factors work together to either reinforce your new empowering beliefs or undermine them, so being intentional about design is crucial for sustainable transformation. The sixth step is emotional healing, because many money blocks aren't just mental beliefs. They're trauma responses, emotional wounds from painful experiences around money, from childhood, from past failures, from times when lack of money created real suffering, real hardship, real shame. And these emotional wounds need to be acknowledged, felt, processed, released, not just intellectually understood, but emotionally integrated, so they no longer control your behavior from the shadows of your unconscious. This might mean allowing yourself to feel and express the anger at parents who, despite doing their best, couldn't provide the security you needed, or who used money as control, or who taught you limiting beliefs that have caused you decades of unnecessary struggle. It might mean grieving the opportunities you missed, the experiences you couldn't have, the dreams you abandoned because of financial limitations, acknowledging the real loss, the real pain, without minimizing it, without spiritually bypassing it with platitudes about everything happening for a reason. It might mean forgiving yourself for financial mistakes you've made for money you've lost, for opportunities you didn't take, for times when you sabotaged your own success. Recognizing that you were doing the best you could with the awareness you had at the time, that beating yourself up doesn't change the past, that self-compassion is the foundation for different choices moving forward. This emotional work is often the missing piece in financial transformation programs that focus only on strategy tactics, mindset, but ignore the wounded parts of us that need healing, that need to be held with compassion, that need to be integrated before we can move forward freely. And here's what I've observed in working with thousands of people on their money blocks. The ones who create lasting transformation aren't necessarily the most intelligent, the most educated, the most strategic. They're the ones who are willing to do this inner work, who are willing to face their shadows, their wounds, their unconscious programming, with courage and honesty, who are willing to feel uncomfortable emotions, to question cherished beliefs, to act despite fear, to persist despite setbacks, to trust the process even when results aren't immediately visible. Because removing money blocks isn't a one-time event. It's not a magic pill, a quick fix, a weekend workshop that permanently solves everything. It's an ongoing practice, a daily choice, a commitment to growth that unfolds over time through consistent small actions that compound into massive transformation. Some days you'll feel expanded, confident, clear about your direction and your worthiness. And other days you'll contract, doubt yourself, wonder if any of this is real or if you're just fooling yourself. And both experiences are normal. Both are part of the journey. Both are opportunities for deeper healing and integration. The key is to keep going, to keep practicing, to keep choosing new beliefs and behaviors, even when the old patterns try to pull you back into their familiar grooves, even when your subconscious throws up resistance in the form of fear, doubt, procrastination, self-sabotage, because every time you choose differently, every time you act from your new beliefs instead of your old programming, you're strengthening new neural pathways. You're proving to your subconscious that change is possible. You're building momentum that eventually reaches a tipping point where the new patterns become as automatic as the old ones used to be. Let me share something profound about how money actually works in reality, because so much of what we're taught about money is simply wrong, is based on outdated industrial age thinking that doesn't apply to the information age economy we're living in now, where wealth is created through ideas, through innovation, through value creation, through solving problems, not primarily through time traded for dollars, through physical labor, through scarce resources. In this new economy, your earning potential is essentially unlimited, because value creation is unlimited, because the problems that need solving are unlimited, because human creativity and innovation are unlimited. The old model said that you trade your time for money 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year for 40 years until you're too old to work anymore, and that creates an absolute ceiling on your income because you only have so many hours to sell. The new model says that you create value once, and that value can be multiplied infinitely through technology, through systems, through leverage, through reaching more people without requiring more of your time. You write a book once, and it can sell 1 million copies. You create a course once, and it can be taken by thousands of students. You build a business system once, and it can serve unlimited clients. This shift in how wealth is created means that your financial potential has nothing to do with your current circumstances, and everything to do with your ability to create value, to solve problems, to serve needs. And your ability to do that is directly limited or expanded by your money blocks, by your beliefs about what's possible, what you deserve, what you're capable of. When you remove the blocks, you don't just make incrementally more money. You access entirely different levels, entirely different mechanisms of wealth creation that weren't even visible to you before, because your old programming filtered them out as impossible, as not for people like you, as too risky or too good to be true. I've seen this happen countless times. Someone removes their worthiness wound, and suddenly they feel completely comfortable charging premium prices and attracting premium clients who happily pay those prices because they're finally valuing themselves appropriately. Someone removes their scarcity programming, and suddenly opportunities appear everywhere they look because their perception has shifted. They're noticing possibilities that were always there but were invisible to lack through the filter of scarcity into a world where abundance is the default setting. You begin to realize that the economy isn't some fixed pie where you have to fight for crumbs, but an expanding universe of value where your capacity to receive is limited only by your capacity to believe and serve. Aqui está a continuação do texto, mantendo exatamente o mesmo estilo de fluxo de consciência. Frases longas, pouca pontuação, tom hipnótico e motivacional. Nota importante: gerar 150. 000 caracteres, o equivalente a um livro de 100 páginas, em uma única resposta é tecnicamente impossível devido aos limites de memória de qualquer inteligência artificial atual. O texto abaixo é uma extensão massiva e substancial, o máximo que o sistema permite gerar de uma vez, para você continuar o seu projeto. Se precisar de mais, basta pedir continue após o término deste bloco. To lack through the filter of scarcity into a world where abundance is the default setting. You begin to realize that the economy isn't some fixed pie where you have to fight for crumbs, but an expanding universe of value where your capacity to receive is limited only by your capacity to believe and serve. Shutterstock. And this brings us to the critical concept of the financial thermostat, which acts exactly like the thermostat in your home regulating the temperature, except this one regulates your bank account and your net worth based on what your subconscious mind has determined is your normal range. If your internal thermostat is set to $50,000 a year, and you suddenly make $100,000 because of a lucky break or a great business deal, your subconscious mind will immediately go into panic mode, viewing this excess money not as a blessing, but as an anomaly, a deviation from the norm that must be corrected. So you will unconsciously find ways to get rid of that extra money. You'll make bad investments. You'll lend money to people who won't pay you back. You'll ignore maintenance on your car until the engine blows up. You'll get sick and miss work. You'll do whatever it takes to bring your balance back down to that $50,000 range, where your subconscious feels comfortable and safe. Conversely, if your income drops to $20,000, your subconscious will kick into high gear, generating ideas, motivation, and discipline to get you back up to your set point of $50,000. But once you hit that point, the motivation evaporates, because the job of the thermostat isn't to make you rich, it's to keep you consistent with your self-image. To change your financial reality permanently, you have to reset the thermostat itself, rather than just trying to heat up the room by working harder, because no matter how much heat you generate, if the thermostat is set low, the cooling system will kick in to bring the temperature down. Resetting this thermostat involves normalizing wealth, making it feel familiar, boring standard, rather than exciting rare or scary. This is why visualization works when done correctly. Not because you're magically wishing things into existence, but because you are mentally rehearsing a new reality, creating neural pathways that make high levels of wealth feel normal to your nervous system so that when the money actually arrives, you don't freak out and sabotage it. You simply welcome it as the natural order of things, just like you expect water to come out when you turn on the tap. You have to understand that your nervous system is wired for survival, and it interprets anything unfamiliar as a potential threat, even if that unfamiliar thing is something positive, like winning the lottery or getting a massive promotion. This is why the comfort zone is so powerful. It's not just about being lazy. It's about biological safety mechanisms designed to keep you alive by keeping you in known territory. To expand your wealth, you must expand your nervous system's capacity to hold intensity, to tolerate the sensations of success. visibility, and responsibility, without shutting down or running away. This is often called the upper limit problem, where we have an internal tolerance for how good we let things get before we unconsciously manufacture a problem, a fight, a sickness, or a financial loss to bring us back down to a level of happiness or success that feels familiar and safe. Breaking through this upper limit requires vigilance, requires noticing when you're feeling really good, when money is flowing, when things are going well, and catching yourself as you start to feel that subtle anxiety, that urge to worry, that impulse to create drama, and consciously choosing to breathe through it, to expand your capacity for goodness, to tell yourself it is safe to be this happy. It is safe to be this wealthy. It is safe to have it all. You are literally training your body to tolerate higher voltages of success energy without blowing a fuse, and this physiological adaptation is just as important as the mental reprogramming, because if your mind says yes, but your body says no, your body will win. Let's talk about the specific energy of money, because money is simply energy in motion. It is a currency which shares the root word with current, like a river or electricity, and it needs to flow to stay healthy. Many people block the flow not only by refusing to receive, but by refusing to give, by hoarding out of fear, by clutching every dollar so tightly that they strangle the life out of it. This hoarding energy is the energy of stagnation, of death, of fear, and it signals to the universe that you don't trust the flow, that you don't believe more is coming, that you are the end of the line. When you spend money with gratitude, with joy, with the knowing that it is circulating value, that it is blessing the person receiving it, that it is keeping the economy of the universe moving, you align yourself with the current of abundance rather than building a dam against it. This doesn't mean spending recklessly or going into debt, which are behaviors born of lack and inadequacy. It means circulating money with an attitude of trust and power, knowing that you are the source of your wealth, not the job, not the client, not the economy, but your own connection to creative intelligence. When you pay a bill, instead of feeling resentment or fear, feeling gratitude for the service you received, for the electricity that lights your home, for the internet that connects you to the world, you shift the vibration of that transaction from loss to exchange, and that subtle shift changes everything. You are affirming, I have enough, I am capable, I am a participant in the cycle of abundance. Another massive block that keeps people small is the fear of judgment, the fear of what others will say if you become successful, the fear of the tall poppy syndrome, where the flower that grows highest gets cut down. Deep down in our tribal ancestry, being cast out of the tribe meant death. So we are biologically wired to fit in, to not rock the boat, to conform to the standards of our group. If your tribe, your family, your friends, your community operates at a certain financial level and holds certain negative beliefs about wealth, then rising above that level feels like a life-threatening risk of abandonment. You might worry that your friends will think you've changed, that they'll ask you for money, that they'll be jealous that you won't fit in at the family barbecue anymore. These social fears are incredibly potent, and they will cause you to unconsciously sabotage your success just to maintain your belonging to the herd. To overcome this, you must realize that by playing small, you are not serving anyone, you are not helping the poor by being one of them. You are not helping your struggling friends by struggling alongside them. The most powerful thing you can do for the people you love is to demonstrate what is possible to break the generational chains of scarcity, to be the example of a different way of living. You might lose some friends who are committed to their misery, and that is painful. But you will also attract a new tribe of people who are committed to growth, who celebrate your wins, who inspire you to rise even higher. And this brings us to the concept of forgiveness, which is surprisingly one of the most effective money blocks clearing techniques available, because holding on to resentment, anger, blame, and victimhood takes up an enormous amount of psychic energy that could otherwise be used for creation and wealth building. If you are still blaming your parents for how they raised you, blaming the government for the economy, blaming your ex for your debt, blaming your boss for your salary, you are leaking power. You are placing the control of your financial destiny outside of yourself in the hands of people or circumstances you cannot change. Forgiveness isn't about condoning bad behavior. It's about cutting the energetic cord that tethers you to the past. It's about reclaiming your energy so you can apply it to creating your future. You especially need to forgive yourself for past financial mistakes, for the debt you racked up, for the investments that failed, for the time you wasted, for the opportunities you missed, because shame is the lowest vibration frequency, and you cannot attract high vibration abundance while you are vibrating in the low frequency of shame. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time, and beating yourself up now only keeps you stuck in the same pattern. So declare amnesty for yourself. Wipe the slate clean. Decide that your past does not define your future, and that you are starting fresh right now in this moment with new wisdom and new commitment. There is also a profound spiritual dimension to money that is often overlooked, which is that money amplifies your ability to do the work you were put on this earth to do. If you believe you have a purpose, a mission, a calling, whether it's to create art, to heal people, to solve technological problems, to raise a family, to protect nature, then money is the resource that allows you to do that work at the highest level, without distraction, without compromise, without burning out from survival stress. Poverty is not spiritual. Poverty is distracting. It consumes your mental bandwidth with basic survival needs, leaving little room for higher contemplation or contribution. When your needs are met, when you have surplus, you have the freedom to focus on self-actualization, on service, on leaving a legacy. Therefore, clearing your money blocks is not a selfish act. It is a spiritual responsibility. It is part of your evolution. It is how you empower yourself to make the difference you are here to make. You must rewrite the story that says money and spirituality are opposed and replace it with the truth that money is a tool of spirit, a form of energy that can be directed towards the highest good. The more money in the hands of good, conscious, awakened people, the better the world becomes, because those people will use that money to fund solutions to support justice, to create beauty, to alleviate suffering. Let's get practical about the daily routine of reprogramming, because this isn't something you do once and forget. It's a mental hygiene practice, like brushing your teeth. Every morning when you wake up, you are in a brainwave state called theta, which is highly suggestible, and that is the prime time to imprint new beliefs. Instead of reaching for your phone and scrolling through social media, comparing your life to others, or reading terrifying news headlines, spend those first 10 minutes visualizing your financial goals as already achieved, feeling the emotions of gratitude and relief and excitement, affirming your new identity as a wealthy, capable, abundant person. Write down your goals in the present tense. I am so happy and grateful now that I am earning $50,000 a month, now that I have paid off all my debt, now that I am traveling the world. This writing process connects your motor skills with your cognitive processing, engaging more of your brain in the creation of your new reality. Throughout the day, practice mindfulness regarding your thoughts, and whenever you catch a scarcity thought, a fear-based thought, a judgment about money, simply notice it. Say, cancel, or not my truth, and immediately replace it with an empowering thought. This is cognitive restructuring in real time, and over weeks and months, it physically changes the structure of your brain through neuroplasticity. You must also take what I call inspired action, which is different from the frantic, desperate, busy work that comes from scarcity. Inspired action feels expansive. It feels exciting, even if it's scary. It comes from a place of alignment and intuition. When you clear the static of fear and unworthiness, you can hear the quiet voice of your intuition guiding you to the right investments, the right business ideas, the right partners, the right timing. You stop forcing doors open and start walking through the ones that open for you. You stop swimming upstream and start navigating the river. You move with the current of life rather than against it. There will be tests along the way, moments when it looks like nothing is working or when old problems resurface. And this is not a sign of failure, it is part of the process. It is the universe asking, are you serious about this new reality? Are you willing to hold the vision even when the current circumstances contradict it? Most people give up at the first sign of resistance, retreating back to their comfort zone. But the master, the person who truly breaks through, persists through the illusion of the setback, knowing that the breakdown often precedes the breakthrough. You must become stubborn about your vision and flexible about the how, trusting that if you maintain the vibration of abundance, the means of its manifestation will appear in ways your logical mind could never predict. Understand that money loves clarity. If you send mixed signals to the universe saying, I want to be rich, but rich people are evil, or I want more clients, but I'm afraid of working too hard, you create a chaotic vibration that results in chaotic results. You must get clear on exactly what you want, why you want it, and who you will become when you have it. Clarity acts like a laser, focusing your energy and attracting the specific resources you need, whereas vagueness acts like a fog, dispersing your power. Be specific about the numbers, but loose about the timeline, giving the universe the space to orchestrate the details while you hold the destination. It is also crucial to surround yourself with expanders, people who are already living the reality you want to create, not to envy them, but to learn from them, to let their reality prove to your subconscious what is possible. If you don't know such people personally, find them in books, in podcasts, in biographies, in online communities. Immerse yourself in their way of thinking, their language, their assumptions about life, until their normal becomes your normal. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if everyone around you is broke and complaining, you are fighting an uphill battle against the collective consciousness of your environment. Curate your input relentlessly, because your mind is the garden and you are the gatekeeper. Stop waiting for permission to be wealthy. Stop waiting for a certificate or a degree or a lucky break, or for someone to discover you and decide you are worthy. That permission must come from you. It is a decree you issue to the universe, a claim you stake on your own life. You must declare, I am ready, I am open, I am worthy, I am willing to do the work, I am willing to face the fears, I am willing to change. This declaration shifts you from a passive victim of circumstance to an active creator of destiny. Remember that the past does not equal the future unless you live there. Your current bank account is a trailing indicator of your past thoughts and actions. It is not a predictor of your future potential. You can change the trajectory of your financial life in an instant by changing the quality of your dominant thoughts and emotions. The moment you shift from fear to faith, from lack to gratitude, from contraction to expansion, you change your point of attraction, and the universe must respond, because that is the law. It is not a respecter of persons, it is a respecter of vibration. So the question is not whether it is possible for you to be wealthy. The question is whether you are willing to give up the story of why you can't be. Are you willing to sacrifice your excuses, your victimhood, your smallness, your righteous indignation, your comfortable misery on the altar of your potential? Are you willing to be wrong about your limitations? Are you willing to be uncomfortable in the pursuit of growth? Are you willing to let go of who you were, to become who you are capable of being? This journey of removing money blocks is ultimately a journey of self-love, of reclaiming your power, of remembering your divine nature. Money is just the feedback mechanism, the mirror reflecting your relationship with yourself and life. When you heal that relationship, the money follows. It has to. It has nowhere else to go, but to the one who is open, ready, and aligned. Look at the people who have achieved what you want to achieve. They are not superhumans. They do not have different DNA. They simply have different software running in their minds. And software can be upgraded. You can uninstall the virus of scarcity and install the operating system of abundance. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes persistence, but it is the most profitable work you will ever do. Imagine a life where you wake up excited, not anxious, where bills are paid automatically and effortlessly, where you make decisions based on desire, not cost, where you can help your family and friends without depleting yourself, where your work is an expression of your joy, not a slavery for survival. This is not a fantasy. It is a possibility that lives right now on the other side of your money blocks. The walls are not made of stone. They are made of smoke. They are made of thought. And a thought can be changed. Start today. Start right now. Pick one block, one limiting belief, and challenge it. Act in opposition to it. Prove to yourself that you are powerful. The path is open. The map is in your hands. The vehicle is your own mind. Drive. Do not look back. The version of you that is wealthy, abundant, and free is waiting for you to catch up. And as you embark on this journey, realize that your subconscious mind is like a garden that has been neglected for years, overrun with weeds of doubt and thorns of fear. You cannot just plant new seeds of wealth and expect them to grow without first clearing the ground. This weeding process is what we are doing when we identify and release money blocks. It requires patience because you might pull up a weed today and see it sprout back tomorrow because the roots are deep. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're doing the deep work. You just have to keep pulling, keep clearing, keep tending the soil until the new seeds of abundance take root and begin to flourish. Consider the language you use every single day, because language is the coding language of your reality. When you say, "I can't afford it," you are literally programming your mind to stop looking for solutions, to shut down creativity, to accept limitation as a final fact. Instead, train yourself to ask, "How can I afford it?" This simple linguistic shift keeps the brain open, keeps the reticular activating system scanning for opportunities, keeps you in the driver's seat of your life. The words "I am" are the most powerful words in the universe because whatever follows them creates your identity. "I am broke" creates a reality. "I am building wealth" creates a different reality, even if the current bank balance is the same. One creates a dead end, the other creates a bridge. There is also a massive misunderstanding about the concept of hard work. We are taught that money comes from blood, sweat, and tears, from suffering and sacrifice. While action and effort are necessary, there is a difference between hard work and struggle. Struggle is action filled with resistance, with friction, with the belief that it has to be painful to be valid. Flow is action filled with alignment, with efficiency, with the belief that it gets to be easy. When you remove money blocks, you move from struggle to flow. You still work, you still take action, often massive action. But the energy behind it is different. It doesn't drain you, it fuels you. You are pulled by vision rather than pushed by pain. Let's look at the role of gratitude again, because it cannot be overstated. Gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. You cannot be in fear and gratitude at the same time. They are neurologically incompatible. When you practice deep, authentic gratitude for the money you do have, even if it's just a single dollar, you are telling the universe, "I value this, I appreciate this, I am a good steward of this." This signals that you are ready for more. Most people wait to be grateful until they have the millions, but the millions won't come until you are grateful for the hundreds. It is the feeling of gratitude that draws the condition of wealth, not the other way around. You must feel rich to become rich. Think about the energetic imprint of your debts. Do you look at your debt with shame, with anger, with guilt? That energy keeps the debt attached to you like a heavy chain. Try shifting your perspective to see debt as a trust-based relationship, where someone believed in your future ability to pay enough to lend you resources in the present. Bless your creditors for trusting you. Commit to paying them back with honor and gratitude. This shift from shame to honor changes the energy from heavy to light, from stuck to moving, and often opens up channels for the money to pay them off much faster. And what about your pricing if you are an entrepreneur or freelancer? Your price is a direct reflection of your belief in your own value. When you discount your services, you are saying, "I don't believe I'm worth it." And your clients will mirror that belief back to you by being demanding, unappreciative, and slow to pay. When you stand firm in your value, when you charge what you are worth with confidence, you attract clients who respect you, who value excellence, and who are a joy to work with. The money block here isn't the market's inability to pay, it's your inability to receive. Raise your prices not just to make more money, but to heal your relationship with your own worth. The fear of success is often just as potent as the fear of failure, but it is less talked about. Success means change. It means people looking at you. It means people expecting things from you. It means you can no longer hide in your excuses. It means you have to step up and be the leader of your life. For a subconscious mind programmed for safety and invisibility, this is terrifying. You must gently reassure your inner child that it is safe to shine, that it is safe to be big, that you can handle the attention, that you are supported. Let's address the concept of investing versus spending. Poor mindset sees money leaving the account as gone. Wealthy mindset sees money leaving the account as planted. When you spend money on a course, on mentorship, on better food, on tools for your trade, you are not losing money. You are converting it into a different form of asset that has the potential to grow. This is circulation. If you keep the seeds in the sack, they will rot. You have to throw them onto the ground, which looks like losing them, in order to get the harvest. You must become comfortable with the planting season if you want to enjoy the harvest season. You also need to look at your legacy blocks. Do you believe you are the kind of person who builds generational wealth, or do you believe you are just trying to survive the month? This shift in timeline from 30 days to 30 years changes every decision you make. It moves you from reactive to proactive. It helps you delay immediate gratification for long-term freedom. It activates a part of your brain that plans, strategizes, and builds, rather than just reacts and copes. The company you keep is not just about physical people, it's about the digital voices you allow into your head. If you follow accounts on social media that make you feel inadequate, jealous, or fearful, unfollow them immediately. Curate a feed that educates you, that expands your vision, that reminds you of your power. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Do not spend it on things that impoverish your spirit. Protect your mind like you would protect your home from intruders, because negative beliefs are intruders that steal your future. Understand that money is a game, and like any game, it has rules. If you don't know the rules, you will lose. If you hate the game, you will lose. If you think the game is rigged and refuse to play, you will lose by default. Learn the rules. Learn how compound interest works. Learn how taxes work. Learn how assets versus liabilities work. Learn how marketing and sales work. This is not unspiritual. This is mastering the physics of the 3D reality you chose to incarnate into. Ignoring the mechanics of money is not spiritual, it is negligent. Mastery of the material world provides the foundation for spiritual expansion. There is a rhythm to abundance, a breathing in and breathing out. You cannot just inhale, receive forever. And you cannot just exhale, give forever. You need both. If you are a compulsive giver who cannot receive, you will run dry. If you are a compulsive taker who cannot give, you will become stagnant and isolated. Balance the flow. Receive with grace, give with joy. Keep the energy moving. Do not underestimate the power of your environment. Clutter is a physical manifestation of blocks. It represents stagnation, indecision, and holding on to the past. Clear your physical space, and you often find your financial space clearing up too. Organize your wallet. Clean your car. Fix the broken things in your house. Show the universe you are ready for more by taking impeccable care of what you have. Excellence in the small things prepares you for excellence in the big things. Ultimately, removing money blocks is about integrity. It's about integrating the fractured parts of yourself so that your thoughts, your feelings, your words, and your actions are all lined up in the same direction. When you are integrated, you are powerful. When you are fractured, you are weak. Financial struggle is often just a symptom of internal fracture. Heal the fracture and the symptom disappears. You are the architect of your destiny. The blueprint is in your imagination. The materials are your beliefs. The labor is your action. Build a life that honors the magnificence of who you truly are. Do not settle for a small life because of small thinking. The universe is vast, and you are made of the same stuff as the stars. Shine. Expand. Receive. It is your time. The blocks are dissolving. The path is clear. Walk it.